Okay, so in the previous video we had the multiplications in order. What do I mean by that? I mean that when I ask you to write it in exponent form to simplify the multiplication, so let's say I gave you a question like this and I told you to write it in exponent form. All the numbers that were in the multiplication were in order. So all the 2's were together, all the 3's were together, and any number that I gave you was together in groups. So then for this one, we know that the answer is 2 to the power of 2 multiplied by 3 to the power of 2. Okay, what happens if you're given something like this? What happens if you're given 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 2 times 3 times 2? Now you can simplify it in this form, but it's a lot easier if you first organize them so you have all the numbers that are the same in one group and all the numbers which are the other group. Let's say in this one we have 2 and we have 3. Let's organize all the 2's on one side and all the 3's on the other side. That way when we want to write it in exponent form, it's a lot simpler. So we know that if you multiply two numbers together, you can rearrange their order and the multiplication is the same. So let's say I said something like this to you. We know that 3 times 2 times 3 is the same thing as 3 times 3 times 2. So we can rearrange the multiplication and it's the same, it'll give you the same answer. So if you want to check, let's do it. 3 times 2 is 6, times 3 is 18. 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18. So again, that's a little check, that gives you the same answer. So we're going to use that same principle here. So let's rearrange so we have all the 2's that are grouped together and all the 3's that are grouped together. So let's start off. So we have 2, and we can cross them out to verify that we already brought that one down here. So we already used that 2, we're going to write it here. Times 2, cross it out. Okay, let's look for the next 2, times 2. Times, is there one more? Yeah, there's one more 2 over here, so let's cross that one out. And then let's finish off with the 3's. Times 3, times 3, because I used that one, so we cross them out. And then finally we have times 3. Now we can simplify it just like in the other video using exponents. So let's look at the first one. We have 2. How many times are we multiplying itself by itself? So 2 times itself is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 2 to the power of 4 multiplied by. Now the next number, the base we have is 3. How many times is 3 multiplying itself? So we have 3 times 3 times 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. So it's 3. So 3 to the power of 3. So that's how you can simplify it. First we rearrange it so we get all the numbers that are the same on one side, and then we get the other numbers which are the same. So we're grouping together all the numbers which are the same. Let's do this one to show what happens if you have more than just 2 numbers. If you have, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 different numbers together. So in this one, how many are there? There's 1, 2, so there's a 4, there's a 3, and there's a 2. There's 3 numbers, 3 different numbers. So let's, again, rearrange them. Let's start off with putting the smallest number on the left-hand side and then putting the largest number on the right-hand side. So we're going to group the smallest numbers on this side and the largest numbers on this side. So let's start off with 2. What's the next one? So there's no more 2's. Now we move on to 3's. Cross it out. There's one more 3. Cross it out. Okay, and then there's no more 3, so we move on to 4. So we multiply by 4. We cross it out. there's 1 4 here, cross it out, and then the last 4 over here. And there's no more numbers we can use. So this thing that we just crossed out is the same as this. The only difference is we rearrange them. So now let's simplify them by using exponents. So the first number is 2. How many 2's do we have? How many times is 2 being multiplied by itself? Only 1 time. Times, the next number is 3. How many times is 3 being multiplied by itself? How many 3's are there? There's 1, 2. So it's 3 to the power of 2. And then finally, what's the last number? It's 4. So what is 4? 4 is being raised to what power? So there's 1, 2, 3 4's. So that's the answer for the second one, that's the answer for the first one. So just to recap, what do? If we're given a multiplication where we have a bunch of terms that are being jumbled up like this, it's a lot easier to regroup them. So let's say you have the smallest numbers on the left-hand side and you make them larger as you go on. So again, you go in ascending order, meaning the smallest numbers are on the left-hand side and the largest numbers are on the right-hand side. So once we do that, once we regroup them, so once we go from here to here, then we can simplify using exponents. And you should know how to do that process. If not, review a previous video.